Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the chair of the Arthritis Foundation Board of Directors, Lori Stewart.
Thank you. Hey, did you love that music? I think we should dance instead of lunching. All right. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the 2019 Live Yes Conference of Champions. On behalf of our board of directors, I am really delighted to welcome you here and to Atlanta and to this first of its kind Live Yes conference. We have a very full agenda for the next couple of days and lots of activities planned for you. Large gatherings like this where we can learn and a little later in the day celebrate, and then 3 tracks that you picked before you left home that are based on the information you really want to learn and the topics that interest you the most. So, I'm excited, I hope you're all excited, and we're going to get started. To offer a welcome, thank you, that's great. Love that enthusiasm. To offer a welcome to our host city, I'm pleased to introduce Matt Mooney. Matt's a JA dad, and he's been a staunch supporter and an advocate of the Arthritis Foundation for many years. He currently serves on our board as a secretary, and he is also on the Georgia Local Leadership Board. To offer a warm Southern greeting, please welcome Matt Mooney.
Georgia. Hats off to whoever thought who thought ahead to give me an open mic, a captive audience, and cool walkout music. We'll hijack a couple bar carts and turn this into a big karaoke gig for the next 6 hours until they kick us out for dinner. So excited for that. Good. I'm glad. Oh, we had a better photo than my big mug, but we'll get to that. There we go. That's a lot prettier. So welcome to Atlanta. We got a great Atlanta Southeast contingent here. So it's Atlanta, it's ATL, it's the 404, it's never hot Atlanta. We don't say that. Only people who aren't here say that. So hopefully you had a good trip coming in. The world's busiest airport. You love it or hate it. It's very polarizing. So hopefully that was smooth and we're good there. And we're excited to have a great conference. We've got a great agenda on tap. This energy, seeing a room full of people, we've really come a long way. So it's great to have everybody here. So as you settle in, we want to talk a little bit about Southern hospitality, talk about some other fun facts about Atlanta itself. So first concept, there is no old when we talk about Atlanta. The city was burned almost completely to the ground by our good friend General Sherman in 1864. So at that point, you'd be hard-pressed to find a city that has fewer old buildings because there is no old prior to 1864. Second, this is kind of a fun one, at 1,000 feet in elevation, Atlanta has the second highest elevation of a top 20 U.S. metro region. So you'll win a bet on that one every time. Largely because we're the biggest city not built on a lake, an ocean, or a navigable river. For some reason, somebody just bebopped through the forest and said, this is good. So, but also keep that in your back pocket because in the event you have a second drink at the bar tonight and you feel a little tired, you can always just, it's the altitude. So you can always use that one. So after that little burn to the ground thing at the end of the Civil War, the city truly rose from the ashes and became a national center of commerce, became the capital of the New South, and developed this moniker, the city too busy to hate. And if you look around town, you'll see the phoenix rising from the ashes as the symbol of Atlanta. And I think we truly earned it. We burned to the ground, and we've come back better than ever. So a lot of cities will tag on to the phoenix thing, but I think we've earned it. So now you see Atlanta, we're home to some really cool architecture, tons of construction, some of the worst traffic in the country. And major corporations have their global headquarters here, including Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines, UPS, and Home Depot, and tons of other great companies, both emerging and established. We've also got a phenomenal movie industry. So in current count, I think we outpace LA for both film and TV production. So tremendous energy on that front as well, and it all coexists in this blend of sort of old and new and vibrant. Atlanta was also home to Dr. Martin Luther King and was a major center during the civil rights movement in the 60s. You can still visit the King Center a few miles away and learn some great history about the man and the movement. Atlanta hosted the world for the 1996 Centennial Olympics, and just across the street, you'll find a heat index of 117 and Centennial Olympic Park, which now hosts millions of visitors each year. If you want to do a brief walk in the morning before it gets too hot, you can take a quick tour around the park. They do a great job showing milestones and memorials to the games themselves. And if you have time in the coming days, ringed around the park, you've got some phenomenal museums. So we've got the Civil and Human Rights Museum, the World of Coca-Cola, the Georgia Aquarium, and the College Football Hall of Fame, and really some other cool stuff, Ferris wheels and things like that. So there's something for everybody. So hopefully you get a chance to take advantage of that and see more of the city. Another interesting fact, no one's actually from Atlanta. All of us have moved in from somewhere else around the world. So with that comes this amazing blend of people, culture, and community, and it's vibrant in so many ways. So despite the steady diet of sandwiches and conference chicken that we'll feed you over the next 48 hours, we will have an opportunity, hopefully, for you to sneak off and go get some great cuisine around the town and really make that part of your weekend as well. A few other quick thoughts as we talk about Atlanta, and if you were to venture from the hotel. Most of you have probably heard there are 68 streets with the name that contain some element of Peachtree as you look around the city. So yes, Peachtree this, Peachtree that. Most people don't know that was actually a carefully devised scheme to distract you from the fact that none of these streets actually go straight, and they all change names every 2 or 3 blocks. So if you are to venture out with Uber or Lyft, be very careful that you put the address in correctly, or you're going to end up on the wrong side of the state. In the South, you also, I think we're okay on the table today, but in the South, typically you need to clarify if you want sweet or unsweet tea, because typically by default you're going to get sweet tea, your blood sugar is going to go through the roof, and you're going to take a nap all afternoon. So just be careful on that piece. We are extremely fortunate to have the Arthritis Foundation National Office with us here in Atlanta. And trust me, we leverage the heck out of them to put on top 10 events. If you look at our walk, our Jingle Bell Run, the JA camp where my daughter goes, the big fancy black tie galas, things like that. We put on great events. Again, we're all about hospitality. We'd love to see you join us at some of those as well. So great energy and phenomenal local staff here that helps keep us all funneled and in the right direction. The other thing, so Rick and I were talking, you'll notice the symbolism this year and the logo for the conference is all around trees as a symbol of how we work together and grow the Live Yes Arthritis Network and really create this orchard of engagement around the country. You know, that only seems fitting because Atlanta is known as this city in the forest. If you walk at street level, you'll see concrete and construction and noise and heat radiating from the blacktop. But if you go in the hotel, get 10 or 15 stories up and look out, you'll see just this oasis of trees as far as you can see. And it differentiates Atlanta in a lot of ways and really kind of gives us a different vibe from most cities out there. I do want to apologize for the heat outside. Typically this time of year, we're 82, 83 degrees. We're about 10 to 15 degrees above normal right now. We're stuck in this weird pattern over the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's miserable, so it looked good when we planned it, sorry. But it's also, you know, as we talk about these themes, if we talk about a city rising from the ashes, you know, we talk about, hey, these trees in Atlanta that bloom and kick off all this pollen. When you come back in the springtime, you'll see just dust and pollen in the air. You can see it from an airplane. But if you think about a city rising from the ashes, trees that kick off a ton of pollen, cause a lot of disruption, then bloom into beautiful trees and beautiful flowers. It's sort of like a foundation that I know if we think back over the last 4 or 5 years. So it's cool to see how much we've continued to grow and evolve. So on behalf of the Georgia Leadership Board, we're delighted to host you here in our city in the forest. We hope you'll find it to be fertile ground as we continue to learn about the Arthritis Foundation, about these issues that truly matter to the arthritis community, and about how we can plant the seeds that'll help everybody find their yes in the coming years. So enjoy the conference. Welcome to Atlanta.
That was indeed a warm Southern greeting and welcome to the city of Atlanta. Did you wonder a little bit, though, that he got the Georgia walk-on music and I got the hip-hop? I don't know if there's a message there. He said, if you couldn't hear him, that I was a lot hipper than he was. I'm not quite sure that's right, but I'll take it. All right. Well, as I mentioned, this year's conference is one of a kind, the first ever. This is a combination of the Arthritis United annual gathering and the annual Conference of Champions. We wanted to create a powerful gathering of the arthritis community, bringing together volunteer leaders from markets across the country and connect group facilitators, as well as individuals living with arthritis who can benefit from the changing and dynamic resources of the Arthritis Foundation. We officially named the conference the Live Yes Conference of Champions, symbolizing the strength we can create within the community by connecting patient insights with a strong, dedicated volunteer force to act on those insights and bring about real change. Real change for people with arthritis right in your and my communities. Thank you. Thank you all for taking the time to come to Atlanta, to learn, to grow, and to lead us into the future. You know, meetings like this don't just happen. And so it's appropriate for us to recognize the steering committee, and if you see any of these folks, because I'm going to ask them to stand up now, but I know many of them are out and about doing the many tasks that it takes to pull this together. So if you see them later, please tell them thank you. If you're in the room, please stand up so we can give you a round of applause. Fabulous. Thank you again. Now, I'll be back to introduce our first speaker after you've had a chance to enjoy your lunch. But let's start connecting with each other right away. Please take a few minutes to introduce yourself to someone at your table that you haven't met yet. And if there's nobody at your table that you don't know, then get to know the folks at your table just a little bit better. I encourage you to kickstart the conference by talking with those at your table about what you hope to accomplish here. Enjoy your lunch. I'll be back in a few minutes. The volume of conversation in the room significantly increased, so I know you were connecting over lunch. I hope you enjoyed that lunch. The conference steering committee made a real effort this year to walk the talk. They're selecting meals and activities that are arthritis friendly, and you'll learn more about that as we spend more time together. But now it's my pleasure to introduce to the stage Rick Willis. Rick is our Senior Vice President of Field Management, and Rick and 3 volunteer partners have put together a great opening session for us today, offering a look back over the past year and starting to envision what the future can and will look like. Please welcome to the stage, Rick Willis.
Wow. Live Yes Conference of Champions. You're looking pretty good out there. What a big crowd, huh? Who is here for the first time this year? Who's your first conference? Look at that. Love it. Now, how many of you heard Lori mention earlier that this is a combined gathering of the Conference of Champions and the Arthritis United to form the Live Yes Conference of Champions? How many of you were previously a part of the Arthritis United meeting? Let's hear from you. Welcome, welcome. Love it. So glad you're here. Well, we have a remarkable meeting planned for you over the course of the weekend, and we thought that maybe there was really no better place to start than by talking about the journey that we have been on to build the Live Yes Arthritis Network. And there's a few things that I hope that you get out of this time together, not only our opening, but over the course of the entire conference. And I guess first, I really hope that you get a sense of the tremendous progress that is being made, that you're making all around this great country of ours to bring the network to life. And I hope you feel really good about what we're accomplishing. But also, along with that, I hope that you also get a sense of the palpable energy and momentum that is building through the network and the opportunity and the capacity to change the future for arthritis. And I hope that that also compels you to take that home and to take that to all of those who couldn't be with us here today, and especially those in your communities that we're here to serve and that need our help. So in starting off the program, I thought that there's really no better place to start than at the beginning, and especially since we have a number of new individuals here with us, and just to make sure we're all singing from the same hymn book about why we have been on this journey to build the network. And so if I were to start at the beginning, I would just remind us, and I'm sure no one would disagree or debate, that our mandate as an organization is to ensure that those who come to our organization looking for help, that they get it, and that we know they got that help, and that it made a difference in their lives. And we know from the research that we've done, we know we are making a difference, don't we? We know that those who come and engage with the foundation feel more positive and hopeful and able to make positive changes in their lives. But the other thing that we also know is that connections, which you've hopefully heard a lot about already, that connections are most impactful. And that really shouldn't surprise us, really, because connections have the opportunity to have a direct impact on our lives today by sharing experiences and getting encouragement and making a connection to a tool or a resource or a person who can help in daily life today. But when you consider all of that, in light of the fact that we have millions who are coming to us now, primarily through our web and our social assets, who are coming to us looking for help every single year, you have to admit and to acknowledge that opportunity is at our door. We have a tremendous opportunity to make a significant impact. And so if I were to put it in a sentence, if I were to boil it down and just put it into one sentence, that what the network is about, it's about providing a way to welcome individuals who come to us looking for help and to facilitate those connections to ensure that they get the help and the resources that they're looking for, to do it more efficiently, and to do it faster, and to do it for more people. And so we have determined, based on listening to the arthritis community, we know that there are primarily three ways that we would measure success. And we talked, if you were with us last year, we talked a little bit about this. And I'm going to refer to them as the three domains. You're going to hear me come back to them. But based on hearing the community, what's most important to you, we know that it is experience of care, emotional and social connectedness, and pain management. We call those the three domains. So keep them in mind because we're going to come back to them. So I mentioned that there has been so much progress. In 2017, at this very conference 2 years ago, the Live Yes Arthritis Network was really an idea. It was a vision, it was a dream, and over the course of the last year, you have done so much to begin bringing that vision to life. And so just a few things to consider is now today, we have online forums and we have connect groups, dozens of connect groups. If you're a facilitator of a connect group in the room, let's see your hands. I know you're out there. That is fantastic. So we have forums and we have connect groups and we have ways for individuals to be welcome, to come in and to connect and to receive the help that they're looking for and to share their experience. But we also have a way for physicians to be able to say that they're a part of the movement, to refer their patients, to take advantage of all that the network has to offer. And we do that through what we call our Partners for Patients program. And we also have dozens of those around the country. But we've taken the existing resources and offerings of the Arthritis Foundation and begun to align them with the network as well. And so if you participated in Walk to Cure Arthritis, and I sure hope everyone did this past year, and especially if you're a person with arthritis, that it felt and it looked different to you as a way for the community to come together and celebrate their fundraising success, but meet one another and be connected with the resources that are available to people with arthritis in their communities. We're also investing in our web and our social assets and our tools that we have that are available, especially to our facilitators and our network leaders to communicate with their group members and for members to communicate with one another. And just like anything, change is hard and there's going to be some bumps along the way, but we are investing in the tools to be able to scale the network and build for the future. And additionally, now I mentioned the three domains, so I hope you kept them in mind, but we also have built a way to measure how are we really doing against those 3 domains? How is the community say they're doing in those 3 areas? And I'm delighted to tell you that I think it was just the day before yesterday, through the Live Yes Insights assessments, we have already 10,000 individuals who are contributing their data against those assessments. And we're going to come back to that here in just a moment. But just continuing our story here of how we are building the network, I want you to know it's not just the components of the network that are coming together, it's the life and the spirit of the network and what it's intended to do to impact people's lives today. And I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to hear from some of your fellow volunteers from around the country. And so I want to introduce one particular individual. So Lisa Divin, and so you'll direct your attention in a moment to the stage on my right. Lisa Divin is both the network leader and the facilitator from Kansas City. And Lisa started a new group from scratch not all that long ago. And today it is a vibrant group of individuals who once didn't know each other, coming together to link arms, share their experiences, connect with one another, and based on the needs of the group are really charting their own course for the future to say, what is the things that we need to be talking about as a group to address our particular needs? And that sense of engagement and empowerment is keeping them coming back for more and is a way to bring more people into the network as well. So please welcome Lisa Divin.
Thanks, Rick. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Divin. And about 15 years ago, I was wrapping up a successful career as a Division I college volleyball player, and I was getting ready to embark on a new career as a mechanical engineer. And that's when I heard the words I think many of you in this room have heard. You have rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I'd never heard of rheumatoid arthritis. I certainly couldn't spell it. And I did what anyone would do when a doctor throws a really big word at you that you've never heard before. I went home and I Googled it. So I go home and I typed it in, not knowing how to spell it. And the first thing that popped up on my screen was, you will be on disability in 10 years. And I closed my screen and I immediately felt very scared and very alone. It was by complete happenstance that I was at an event just a few months later that the Arthritis Foundation was a beneficiary. The executive director introduced himself, and he began inviting me to events with the Arthritis Foundation. He began connecting me to other people who had been where I had been. And suddenly I had something that no Google search could give me. I had a community. I had found my people, and I had found my tribe. And those connections that the Arthritis Foundation made for me way early in my diagnosis have been so important. Those are the people I call when I need really good advice, when I need empathy, and when I need people that really understand what it's like to walk in those shoes. Advice that I can't get from any of my healthcare providers, those that haven't been there. So those have been crucial to my journey with the arthritis, with arthritis. So fast forward then, about 2 years ago, the executive director called me up and said, hey, Lisa, the Arthritis Foundation is ready to start a new initiative, and they'd like Kansas City to be a pilot. This new Live Yes initiative is going to work on connecting people with arthritis. And that is all I had to hear. I knew I was in. I was so excited to hear that the Arthritis Foundation was ready to formalize their efforts to connect people through the Live Yes Arthritis Network. Now, when I first started our group in Kansas City, like I said, we were a pilot, so I was given very little direction. I had not met Heidi or Kevin. I didn't know about arthritis introspective, but I was excited, so I took off running. The first topic of our first meeting was given to us as a pilot, but from there, the topics just seemed to come out of the meeting. We would start our meeting with a topic and a subject matter expert, and our group would discuss that topic after the expert was finished. But somehow the conversation would just roll along until the next topic for our group would surface. And that's how we would choose the topic for the next meeting. So the people in our group kept coming back to the meetings because we were talking about the things they wanted to talk about. Our group in Kansas City has over 100 members, and we have 20 to 30 people that regularly attend our meetings. And I think the reason that they like to come back is because we're talking about what is important to them. So since those early meetings, I've come to learn all the great resources that the Arthritis Foundation has for our Live Yes Connect facilitators, but those are really just there to supplement our efforts. I think I learned something really important in those early meetings, and I honestly learned it by accident. But I learned that the arthritis community needs to set the agenda. My Live Yes Connect group, we chose the topics we wanted to talk about. We were talking about the things that were relevant to our arthritis community. And that is what kept people coming back, and that is what has kept new people joining our group, because those topics are relevant to them. So I hope that over the next day or so here at the Conference of Champions, you guys get a feel of that on a larger scale. This is our Arthritis Foundation. We are the arthritis community, and we have the opportunity to set the agenda, because who better to set the agenda than the people in the arthritis community? So I hope that you walk away from this conference with the knowledge and the tools to help the Arthritis Foundation help serve the arthritis community better. I hope that you walk away from this conference making new connections, like the connections that were so important to me at the beginning of my journey and have continued to be along my journey. And I hope you guys leave the conference feeling even more empowered than when you got here. Thank you.
So here's the thing about the network and about building the network is we're not just building or growing a single tree, right? The network flourishes in the context of an ecology, if you will. And as I was sort of thinking about this, I was reminded about this illustration from Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, where he talks about when you walk through a forest and you see these big, tall oak trees, it's oftentimes you have to remember that oak tree didn't just come from the hardiest acorn. It was built in an ecology. You have to take into consideration what sun did it get, and did it have trees that shielded it from the light, and was it planted in good soil, and did a lumberjack come and chop it down, and all that good stuff. And I would argue that building the network in your communities is much the same way. It happens within a context, and it should affect the way that we do everything in our local communities. It should work in an interconnected fashion to be able to build and to grow and to flourish. And the great news is that that is happening also. And so I've asked another speaker, another guest, Courtney Wells, who's the network leader in Minneapolis. I don't know if we have any Minneapolis fans, any folks from Minnesota out there. There they are. Courtney couldn't be with us for the opening. She's going to be with us tonight, and she's leading a workshop tomorrow, and as is Lisa's going to be part of a workshop. And Courtney was kind enough to cut a short video to talk and share with us a little bit about what this looks like in Minneapolis and how the local volunteer leadership is coming together to collaborate around using the concept, the tools, the vision, the structure, the components of the network to bring them to life to serve their community. So let's watch.
Hi everyone, I'm Courtney Wells, and I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm 36 years old, and I have been living with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis for about 35 of those 36 years. And I've been involved with the Arthritis Foundation for nearly 20 of those years in many different roles. Currently, I am a Connect Group facilitator, a network leader, and I sit on our local leadership board. I've been on and off the board for the last 10 years as my family and career plans have evolved, and I currently joined the board again in the spring as the network was rolling out, and I've been able to observe some changes that happened between the time that I was on before and then the time that I'm on now, and I've really noticed a shift with the amount of time that we dedicate to the network. In the past, we spent most of our time talking about the financial environment and the state of our region and talking about fundraising, and we're still doing those things, but now we also have dedicated quite a bit of time, maybe a third to a half of our board meetings of that time to talking about the network specifically, and then talking about any challenges that have come up or successes that have happened, and doing some brainstorming around ways that we can continue to grow the programming. And I have one example of that has happened at our local board and in my Connect group. I had my first meeting last spring, and we had about 15 people show up, and half of them were over 50 or 60 and were primarily living with osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. And then the other half were in their 20s and mostly had been growing up with juvenile arthritis. And I tried my best to connect them and to talk about topics that we had in common. And afterwards, one of the younger women came up to me and said that she really didn't want to be part of the group if it was going to have the different types of arthritis and the different age groups, and that she thinks they were having a really hard time relating with the older people in the group. And I brought this issue to our local board, and we've been talking about it and doing some brainstorming around how we could address this issue in my group specifically, but then also how this may be an issue that comes up in other programs that are part of the network or in other areas of the country. And for my group, we are likely going to split it into a younger group and not going to call it an older group, but a different group, and we are going to have to find a new facilitator for that. So we're working on that. But then also we thought that this could be something that we have to think about for marketing different programs and how we reach out to different people with technology or not technology, and a lot of different things have come up during those conversations. And it has been really helpful for me as the network leader and as a facilitator, and I think it also has helped our board members feel more engaged in this process. And I really do think that if we want the network to be successful, we are going to have to engage our board members and have them actively part of the programs, developing the programs, rolling out the programs, evaluating the programs, and the patient-reported outcomes is also going to help with that, hopefully, so we can see what's happening in different parts of the area. But I feel very strongly that the board has to be involved in this process, and that we have to be able to make that connection between what's happening in the community and what's happening in the board and during board meetings. And I'm sorry I can't be there. I couldn't get a flight in to work today, but I will be coming in later tonight, and I will be there tomorrow to run a program for facilitators. So I hope to see you then.
I don't know about you, but 50 and 60 starts to feel younger and younger to me every year. So the question, I hope you can get a sense of the fact that there is this freight train that is the Live Yes Arthritis Network that is barreling down the tracks. The train has left the station, and we are making progress, and you are making progress. The question now is, how do we pick up steam? How do we stimulate growth, and how do we accelerate faster? And so I think about it sort of in two ways, kind of two sides of the same coin, if you will. On the one side, we have this enormous entity that is gaining power and influence and has this enormous voice and this enormous leverage that is the Live Yes Arthritis Network. That's the community. It's all of you. And on the other side of the equation, now we have the ability. You heard me mention the insights assessments in our 3 domains. And so we're able to benchmark ourselves and have data to know what really are the biggest challenges and the biggest struggles, and to pinpoint what life with arthritis is really like, and to direct the power and the influence of the community to tackle those issues and to put a stake in the ground and say we're going to change them, that they're not okay, and we are going to fix it. And so to understand that and to direct where to sort of channel the energy and the influence of this enormous, powerful community, we have embarked upon a study which will be the first and the largest of its kind that is based on the data that you provide to say what is life with arthritis really like, and primarily in those 3 areas: pain management, experience of care, and emotional and social connectedness. And so I want to give you a couple of examples about what this positions us to do, but to make it the first and the largest of its kind, make it the largest, we need 20,000 participants in the Live Yes Insights assessments. I'm going to come back to that. I mentioned we have 10, we're almost there, but we need 20 by the end of the year. And I want to give you a sense of what I mean by directing the influence of the community to be able to tackle those issues. So there's a couple of examples I want to mention. I'm going to give you 2. One is an example internally for us, and I'm going to turn to an outside organization to give you another example. So first example, based on the 10,000 responses to the insights assessments that we've received so far, what's trending right now is that pain interference is the predominant issue that's coming out, that's being borne out in the data. Now, if you think about for a moment all the issues that would be related to pain interference and what we could tackle on that front, we could tackle it on a macro level, and we could tackle it on a micro level, or the local community level, if you will. And on a macro level, there's lots of things we could do, where we could throw the resources and direct the energy of the organization into, and maybe it would be things like regenerative medicine, or maybe non-opioid pain relief. But on a local level, there's a myriad of ways that we could begin to tackle this issue. And so if you think about it for a second, it could be that as the community comes together and says pain interference will be the issue we're going to tackle, if in fact that's where it bears out by the end of the year, in local communities, for instance, we could begin to be bringing in subject matter experts related to pain interference, and we could have seminars or town halls, if you will, with subject matter experts talking about strategies for living with pain and coping and promoting Arthritis Foundation resources. Could be that we could link arms in local communities with sort of broaden out from our medical specialties that we partner with, such as PTs or OTs, for instance, or maybe in our special events that go on, we could involve sponsorships from retail outlets that have assisted devices, or even on your local hospital or healthcare system's patient advocacy committee, make sure that you have representation there to ensure arthritis is well represented. So there's a lot of ways that the community could come together to be able to tackle this issue. But the other thing that we're able to do is, based on this data, is to benchmark one community against another, which would also provoke a lot of questions and a lot of learnings. Now, I'm not sure if you can read this in the back of the room. I know it's a bit of an eye chart. It was the best graphic that we could grab. But this is the actual dashboard from the 10,000 assessments that have been received so far in markets that had at least 50 responses that are indicating this pain interference scale from the least to the greatest. And if you can't see in the back of the room, DC is at the top of the chart, and we have Alabama and Mississippi down at the bottom of the chart. And one community would be able to look and learn and to be able to talk to volunteers from those other communities to better understand why is it such a difference? What's going on there? Is it the number of responses? Is it the disease type? Is it access to care? Is it socioeconomic conditions? But it would provoke learnings that are going to be able to benefit the community. Now, I promised you 2 examples. That was the first one. For the second one, I want to turn to a sister organization, a peer organization, and that is the Sjogren's Foundation. The Sjogren's Foundation, through a very similar effort, learned by collecting the insights from their community. They learned in 2012, I believe it was 2011, they learned that time to diagnosis for a Sjogren's patient on average was 6 years. 6 years for somebody who was facing that particular disease to be able to be diagnosed. And they said that is not okay. And by collecting the data and the information from their community, they set a goal and said that we want to reduce that by half in 5 years. And so they were taking the data in from their community, and they put together a plan, and they built a plan, and that plan involved, in large part, very similar to what we're talking about here, the community mobilizing, and in this case, to educate the related medical specialties, and they would attribute in large part their success. They achieved their goal. They actually reduced time to diagnosis by 50%, just as they said they were actually a little bit better than 50%. They got it down to 2.8 years, but they attribute that to receiving the data from their community and the community mobilizing and going out with an army of volunteers to educate the related medical specialties. Now, why can't we do that? We can do that, right? And so we have the opportunity here to be able to make a significant difference and to change the future. But as with many things, change starts with us. It starts right here. We're the leaders of the communities that we represent. And so I don't want to call anybody out, but I do have to ask, by a show of hands, if you're comfortable, how many of you in the room have taken the Live Yes Insights assessment already? Let me see your hands. Okay, so we got good representation, so that's good. That's terrific. Now, for those of you who haven't, pull out your iPhone, and I hope that you've downloaded the conference app. So I want you to take your iPhone out, and you'll open it up, and you'll see that in the bottom right-hand corner of the main screen, there's a button that says Insights. I have a few asks of you, but one of them is that before you leave here this weekend, take 10 minutes to complete the Insights assessment. It'll do a couple of things. Not only is it going to help contribute the data that we've been talking about, but it's going to give you the better and sort of more informed approach, if you will, when you go back to your communities to articulate to others what the assessments are all about. Now, there's a couple of other ways you can do this. On your table, there is a postcard that you would have seen for a campaign that I'm going to tell you about in just a moment. But at the bottom, there's an address, arthritis.org/liveyes. If you want to work from a bigger screen from your laptop or something when you get back to your room, that's the address that you can use. It'll take you to the assessment. And then there's also, I hope you'll visit the booth that we have for you in the experience. But again, I just want to reiterate before we sort of pivot to the next topic here, I do want to reiterate that we have a chance to change the future. And in order to get there and to come out and to speak with one voice and to put a stake in the ground and say that we are going to do something, we're going to affect the issues that we're learning from the data, we have a chance to be able to do that. And we need to come out with the 20,000 assessments that we talked about earlier and get to that by the end of the year. And I hope that you'll be a part of that and making that happen. But the last thing I want to say with regards to the assessments, it's also a great way to bring people into the network. So as you're thinking about going back to your communities and how you'll talk to people and engage them around the Live Yes Arthritis Network, taking the assessments is a great first step. So it's an opportunity for us to be able to shape the future together, and I hope that you'll help us get to that 20,000 before the end of the year. So now I want to tell you just a little bit about, and that deserves applause. So we want to help you when you go back to your communities to be able to talk about all this, to not just talk about the assessments themselves, although, as I said, that's a great entry point for someone to come into the network, but to talk about on the whole the benefit that the Live Yes Arthritis Network has to offer. So we're going to be launching a campaign in the not too distant future, towards the end of the year, the beginning of next year, called Find Your Yes. And the essential idea behind this campaign is that for those who are not connected yet to the Arthritis Network, maybe they're newly diagnosed, maybe in a dark place because it's very new to them. They don't know any of the terminology, they don't know anyone else who is going through this. The intent of the campaign is to say, you don't have to do this by yourself. You don't have to do this alone. You can connect with others who are going through your struggles and can be a help to you. And so to give you a little bit of the flavor of the campaign, I have a short video that we want you to watch.
When you become a part of the Arthritis Foundation Live Yes Arthritis Network, you'll find stories you can relate to, tips you can learn from, and ideas that will inspire, all within a community created for you. The artist, athlete, parent, grandparent, adventurer, student, teacher, the one who fights, and in doing so, fights for others. Because by joining together with the millions battling arthritis, you're helping create a powerful network of understanding and advocacy that is not only changing lives today, but also changing the future.
We are your community.
Here to embrace your hopes and listen to your fears.
Supporting you in your weakest moments.
In celebrating your victories.
This is the Live Yes Arthritis Network.
And we're committed to the power of many.
And the strength of one.
Committed to helping you live your best life.
And giving you all the tools you need.
All the support and information, connections and confidence.
Committed to helping you find your yes.
Find your yes.
Find
your
yes.
Good stuff, huh? So I have a few asks, a couple I've already made of you. Help us get to the 20,000. Take this home and engage your community through the assessments to be able to engage them with the network. But the third ask is help us make this an authentic campaign. You would have noticed at the second half of the video, some of you in the room were the ones up on the screen. These are real people, and to be able to inspire others to come in and be a part of the network, they need to hear your stories. They need to hear how you got involved and how by being connected to the network, it made a difference in your life. So there are going to be several stations that you're going to see. One of them is out the door to my left. You're going to see some recording stations where you can either buy audio or video. You can record your story. What difference did being involved with the Arthritis Foundation make to you? And specifically, how's being a part of the network helped you? And so I know sometimes being on camera can be a little intimidating, but we do hope that over the course of the weekend, you would share your story that we could bring into the campaign to make it an authentic campaign, to inspire those who are in your community who need the benefit of the network to be able to know what that's all about and invite them to become a part of it. So please, I hope that you'll consider participating. So as we come to a close, I have one more story that I want you to hear. And some of you, we saw many of you, this is your first conference. Some of you may be newly diagnosed. You might be in that place today where you're saying, all very new to me. Terminology is new to me. The Arthritis Foundation is new to me. It's all very new to me. Some of you might be thinking to yourselves, I'm not new to the network or to the foundation, but gosh, 20,000 and, Rick, you made 3 asks and I just got through lunch. I mean, that's a lot. And so you might be even sitting there thinking, I'm just one person. What can I do? Or, hey, when I go home, don't I really need somebody's permission to do all of this? You really want me to take this to the streets? I want you to hear from one more person who not that long ago might have any of those things may have necessarily described her, who was also new to arthritis, newly diagnosed, and as we say in Texas, took the bull by the horns and jumped in and led forward. And as she says, by building her network is now building the network. And so again.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Rick. The creation of 1,000 forests begins with one acorn. Ralph Waldo Emerson. So by now, you are starting to see and hear, and will continue to see throughout the conference, the power of one. How we all might feel small, but collectively, we can accomplish so much. As Emerson said, with one small acorn, the network can become an amazing forest. So how can one person make a difference? How can one person plant an acorn and grow this forest? If you're sitting here thinking all of this network business sounds great, but how can I make a difference? I want to tell you my story. I want to share with you how I feel like I've been impacting the network, and also the network has been impacting me. So just a little bit about me first. As Rick said, my name is Helen King. I am 5 years into a rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis. I am 54, single mom, 2 grown kids. I work full-time. I have an amazing career, more than full-time, in the financial services industry. I am a volunteer leader in my church. I am addicted to Broadway, and I am a die-hard sports fan. Yeah, go Eagles. Oh, sorry, Atlanta. Yeah. I have my Eagles and arthritis green on today, so I'm representing. So 5 years ago is when my journey began. It was the day before my 49th birthday. That summer, my oldest son was well on his way to getting married. My youngest son was leaving for college. I had sold my house, and then I got my diagnosis. So as you can imagine, it was a pretty emotional time for me. But I'm not standing in front of you today to talk to you about my diagnosis journey. I want to talk to you about what I've done since my diagnosis. That's where my story really begins. I was lucky, quick diagnosis, quick cocktail of medications, happened within a few months, and I was stable. And on most days, I feel good. But the mental and emotional aspect of the diagnosis is what I was struggling with, like so many of you, I'm sure, have felt the same way. So I went into my local community looking for support, for people who have been walking the journey and could help me. There was nothing. Enter the Arthritis Foundation and the planting of my very first acorn. Because there was nothing local, I jumped in feet first, and I became a trained facilitator of one of these groups that you've been hearing about today. So a Connect group, as part of the Live Yes network, connects you to your best life through a powerful network of support. By participating, we hope that you gain confidence to help yourself and in turn empower others so that we can all begin to live our yes. So empowerment, you know, it feels like such a buzzword and used so frequently now, but maybe not completely understood. The way we mean it for the network is we want you to become stronger and more confident so that we can be more in control of our lives in managing our disease through education, connection, and support. And in turn, hopefully what you'll be able to do is advocate for yourself. And that's with your doctor, your insurance company, or some other obstacle that we're all bound to face, you know, in this journey that we have. So that support group was built one connection at a time. 3 years ago, it was me sitting in a Wegmans grocery store just praying one person would show up. Now that support group is well over 100 people, and we're creating these amazing stories and people and these healing stories, and people are feeling really empowered, and we're growing it locally, and we're planting one acorn at a time. So after that Connect group got up and going, I wanted to do more. I wanted to get more involved. So the second planting of the acorn was I got involved with the Walk to Cure Arthritis in Philadelphia. That first year, created a team, Kings RA Queens, those of you in the walk community, and I asked family, friends, and coworkers to join. And I quickly realized the power of telling my story. By sharing my story, I was able to educate people about the foundation and arthritis, all forms of arthritis, not just osteoarthritis. I felt like I was running into a lot of misconception and misinformation about my particular diagnosis. So I'm very open to telling my story. I'll actually tell it to anyone who will listen to me. I wear an Arthritis Foundation related button almost all year round, just like this one. It's a conversation starter for me. My children love to say that I've never met a stranger, and it's true. So if you pause long enough and allow me, I will jump in and start telling you my story. So I talk a lot about the Arthritis Foundation and a way for people to get involved. I feel there's no greater way to ask somebody for support, whether it's financially or advocacy or to get involved, than by sharing your personal story. I do think that people give to people, people don't give to causes. So over the last 3 years, that little walk acorn has really grown and flourished. Our walk team is really accomplishing a lot. The first year, we were 10 team members. This year, we were 35. We have an annual fundraising event every year that draws in over 200 people for not just a night of fun, but it gives the Arthritis Foundation a way to connect with these people through advocacy and education and awareness throughout the evening. This year, that particular event raised $11,000. The first year, the team raised $12,000. This past year, we brought in $50,000 to the foundation. Yeah, it's amazing. So we've been the top fundraising team in Philly the last 3 years. The last 2 years, we've been ranked nationally. In 2018, I was Philly's walk honoree. This year, I was a national team captain. I chaired the walk in Philly, and I had the distinct honor of being the Walk to Cure Arthritis national honoree. But I'm not standing here telling you all of this so that you know this is what I've done. I say it because I believe that each and every role has been an opportunity to connect with more and more people in new and different ways, to expand my network, to bring them to the foundation, and to expand the Arthritis Live Yes Network. As partners, supporters, participants, advocates, volunteers, subject matter experts, each new hat I've worn has given me that opportunity to talk about the foundation in different ways, planting that acorn each step of the way. And after all that practice of telling my story through the walk, the next phase for me was knocking on the halls of Congress and becoming an advocate for the Arthritis Foundation. I get to tell my story in a different way, but it's so empowering to hear a member of Congress, whether it's the House or Senate, co-sponsor an important piece of legislation or sign on to the Arthritis Caucus. I personally believe that advocacy, especially e-advocacy, is one of the easiest ways to bring people to the network. Through advocacy, all the people we speak with and we connect with, we're planting acorns each step of the way. And just last year, I joined the local leadership board in Eastern Pennsylvania. So guess what my role is on the board? I chair the Live Yes Network for Eastern Pennsylvania, and I'm privileged to have a key role in figuring out locally what we do with all of this information and connect people through outreach and education and events and connect groups. So when I was sitting here thinking about speaking here today, I sat back and I recounted all of the people that I have connected with along the way and I've talked to along the way, and how being part of the network has helped me in my journey. And I have to tell you, I got a little overwhelmed. I quickly realized that it's been so empowering to be part of this network. So I ask again, how can one person make a difference? Everyone in this room can make a difference. It's up to us to make the difference. Your acorns might look a little different. They might be a different size, shape, or color, but if you plant them, they will grow. As you can tell, I'm passionate about the Arthritis Foundation and the impact that it's making for all of us. I'm grateful to be involved, for all the connections I've made, including so many of you in this room. I do believe that connections have power, that connections are power, that connections can be your power. That you can, I believe that you can change a life with connections, you can change your life, you can inspire a community, you can inspire yourself and make living with arthritis easier. So one person, one acorn, no matter the size, shape, or color, that's how we grow the forest. Thank you.
So the strength of many and the power of one at work right there. So as we bring this session to a close, I want to maybe finish where I started, which is I hope that you can get a sense of how the network is coming to life and the progress that is being made in communities all around the country. I hope that you get a sense of the energy and the momentum and the opportunity that we have in front of us, and I hope that that also compels you to go home and to share that with those who were here to serve and with all of those who couldn't be with us here today. We have a remarkable conference in store for you over the next couple of days, and so we have a combination of remarkable education opportunities. We have great content. You've, as we heard earlier, been able to build out the sessions that you want to be able to participate in, but I hope that that also gives you a sense of maybe the essence of what the network's all about, if it's relatively new to you, being able to make connections and hear great content and great speakers. So Lori's going to come back up and give you a little bit of housekeeping announcements, but we have some breakout sessions for you later today. We have the Live Yes Arthritis Experience out in the lobby, some great demonstrations are going to be happening, and we're going to have a great time at Evening of Honors tonight, so I hope you're ready for that. And tomorrow, again, we'll continue with our hot topics and some more breakout sessions for you. But it's been a pleasure to be here with you. I hope you have a great experience and a great conference, and let's change the future. Who's up for that?
What an awesome and inspiring way to get started. Thank you all. That was just fabulous. All right, a few housekeeping items, a few items of interest, and then we'll get you on your way to your breakout sessions. So as Rick mentioned, we encourage you to visit each of the exhibit booths if you aren't one of those early achievers and haven't already done so. Make sure you pick up a passport and collect 10 stars, and then turn in your passport at registration to be part of a prize drawing. Also, visit our sponsors' booths and get more information about the great resources the Arthritis Foundation has to offer. We have live demos and featured exhibit booths throughout the conference. One of our generous donors and volunteers, Adrienne Rubin, will be signing and selling her new book. Proceeds go to support the foundation. Yeah, well worth a round of applause. And at 5 this afternoon, you can participate in a live demo of the Walk with Ease program. They're volunteers. You might be able to guess they have on green shirts, right? They can help direct you up to the location of your breakout sessions. And of course, you can always find that on your app too. So if you're having trouble finding the location, make sure you reach out to one of the volunteers in the green shirts that are around to help you. In the breakout sessions, you'll be invited to capture an aha moment or a key learning on a leaf, and we're going to use those leaves to populate our trees. And throughout the conference, we'll visually create that forest that Rick talked about and the city of trees that Matt talked about. I hope you'll have some fun with that. A couple of helpful tips now for the Evening of Honors event this evening. If you need a vegetarian or gluten-free meal, please stop by the registration desk and pick up a meal card that will reflect your dietary needs, so make sure you stop there. The reception is on the 4th floor. You can head straight to the 4th floor for the reception from 6 to 6:45, and then come right back to this room for the evening of honors that will begin promptly at 7 p.m. Your table assignments are on the back of your name tags, so make sure that you bring your name tag so you know where you will sit. And if for some reason you plan to go, but you don't have a seating assignment, again, stop by the registration booth and they will sort it all out for you. I don't have any other last-minute housekeeping items, so with that, I hope you have a fabulous afternoon, and we'll see you this evening. Bye-bye.